Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Shooting Ball podcast. I'm your host, Mahi Jariwala. Today we're joined by Joyce Ekwowmadu, the 12th female Globetrotter, former professional player, and motivational speaker. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
So, we'll get into it. So, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Dallas, Texas. I was born in Oklahoma, but I moved here when I was 3, so I don't really identify too much with Oklahoma. But moved to Dallas when I was 3. Grew up here. I'm really a Texas girl. I went to college in Texas, high school in Texas. So, besides the overseas stuff and playing professional basketball, I'm right back in Dallas, Texas, where I was raised.
And, how did you get into basketball?
Literally, so I was when I was younger, at 10 years old, I started like having a passion for it because I lived in these apartment complexes where like all the kids used to just play all the time. And there were some actually there was an elementary school like right in front of our apartment complex. So there was a whole bunch of hoops up. So all the apartment kids, we used to just go up there and play every day. And I just grew a love for the game just organically from playing. It used to be me and this one other girl named Kiki. I don't even know how Kiki's doing now. It's like 30 years later, 20 years later. But it was just me and her, and we were the only girls out there that would play with the boys. And I just hurry up and finish my homework from school, come outside and play till my dad had to always come out there and bring me in because the moon would be out. We'd play from like 4:30 or 5 till like 8:30.
My
So
gosh.
that was like a daily thing. It was like I can't wait to go outside and play. So that's really how I got into playing basketball.
Yeah, and I love that kind of apartment and townhouse. Like one of my friends, she lives in a townhouse, and at if evening comes, like everyone's out, everyone's playing.
Yes, I like that community feel. And then like everybody pretty much was around the same age. At that time, 10 years old, I'm like little like higher elementary and then starting to head into middle school. So there was a lot of middle school kids and then kids my age. And then there was like a sprinkle of high school kids there, but everybody just played. There was 4 hoops and everybody just, you lose, you're off, or you go to the next hoop or you go shoot around. So it was really fun.
When did you start getting more serious with sports?
Well, at first, when I first started, it was just I loved it to have fun. I think other people's parents kind of took notice when I was in middle school. I used to always steal the ball when I played on the rec team, and I would score a lot of points. So I think when other people started taking notice and then starting to, kind of speak things into existence, like, oh man, you're good, you're pretty good, you have a future in this sport. That's when I started being like, you know what, I let me take this a little bit more seriously. And I would say not even till like high school. I would say ninth grade is when start taking a turn from just having fun to now. Okay, there's possibilities to get college scholarships, and then at college there's possibilities to take this thing pro. When I was 10 years old, when I first started, that was started playing. That was kind of when the WNBA was formulating. So back then, before the WNBA started, my favorite player was Allen Iverson. So I just loved his hesitation crossover. I used to copy it, try to find it on the internet and watch it over and over. There was a commercial he did with Reebok that really broke down his move, and I would practice that every day. So growing up, yeah, it was super fun. But then I was like, man, like if I could get paid doing this would be cool too. So I spoke that into existence when I was a young kid. And then the transition to it getting more serious definitely was, I would say, high school, and then obviously college, and then beyond.
Yes, what was your experience playing at Texas Tech, and how did you even get that going?
So I played at Texas State University. It's in San Marcos,
Oh, my
Texas.
bad. I
Oh no,
said
you're good.
okay.
You're
I had it
good.
right now.
No,
Okay.
no. Texas State and Texas Tech kind of sound the same. A lot of people do that. So we actually played against Texas Tech. I never beat them, but my experience at Texas State was really cool. I got recruited by Noelle Johnson, who at the time she was the assistant coach, but she was the starting point guard on the Texas Tech women's basketball team when they won the championship with Cheryl Swoops in '93. So I knew then that this is going to be somebody who's going to be able to pour into my game and make me better. Obviously, she's a national champion, and she was at the point guard position. She actually passed away last year, but she's somebody that was instrumental into my basketball growth. My freshman year, sophomore year, I was just kind of learning the game, and obviously the speed was different from college. I mean, from high school. So I originally started off as a forward or a post player. I average a lot of rebounds and, just light double digit numbers, 10, 12 points. But really, my senior year is where I took off because I was able to leave college for a month and play for the national team for Nigeria. And our coach at the time was the assistant coach for the Houston Comets, who in the WNBA had won 4 championships. So obviously, I was like, man, this is a great opportunity. I'm so thankful to be Nigerian. He's going to really teach me a lot of things that I could do, like I could put into my game and really escalate my game from the college game to the pros. And so the first thing he said was, at 5'10", you're going to have to be a point guard. So he transformed me. His name's Kevin Cook, Coach Kevin Cook. Transformed my game from being like a swing wing player, forward type player into a point guard. So when I came back after playing with the national team for a month, which I was playing with players that played in the WNBA that played at big universities like Stanford, Baylor when they won the championship. I was playing with all these players and just high caliber talent. Came back to Texas State, and then the game just sort of looked slower because I was playing at such a high level for a month, and so I was able to capitalize and average close to 20 points a game in about 28 minutes. So that single moment in my life really transitioned my game from the college level to the pros.
And like, how was that like kind of switching positions and like having to play not only because I feel like when you switch positions, and I hate this whole like if you're tall, like when you're younger, like that's the
Yeah,
only thing that they put you at, right? Post because they want to win games. Like that's all we
right,
do with you guys. But
right.
you moving to like point guard, did you like that position? And how do you think that that kind of like was it a harder adjustment as well, trying to play at a higher level and a different position?
It was totally an adjustment. At the forward post position, you're really running rim to rim. I was only 5'10", and in our conference, being a mid-major Division 1, we didn't have super tall post players. That I played against. I mean, I'd say the tallest one was probably maybe 6'1".
No.
But I was able to rebound fairly decent, and I developed some post moves. My first couple of years just using my size and trying to get around and footwork. But then I was able to take them out to the wing. They had to guard me on the defensive side, and so I could take my post players to the wing and be a guard. So that transition though to point guard was very, very different. And I would say being a point guard is the most difficult position on the floor. Number one, you're the coach on the floor. You having to direct everybody. Like you're yelling orders to people. You're making sure everybody's in the right spot. You control the tempo of the game. You call out the plays while handling full court pressure. You have to be a really good ball handler. And that was something that I wasn't the best ball handler, but being on the national team taught me how to be efficient with my dribbling, and I didn't have to do a thousand moves. Just protect the ball, don't turn it over, set everybody up,
Yeah.
and I was able to score too. So I was more like a combo guard. So that was good because I was able to not only score from the guard position, but because I had experience as a post. Now being a tall guard, I can post up smaller guards and have that in my bag to be able to score at different positions. And it just creates versatility. And I love the fact that you said, I hate when people put tall players down at the post. When I train kids now, all of my all of my players, they all learn ball handling first. Ball handling and footwork are, I think, the two most important things, and then also uh getting a shot in your arsenal. I also hate to see guards that can't shoot, because you're less of a threat. You could get around people all day, but then obviously 3 points are worth more than two. And then also, if you develop a 3 point game, then people have to pick and choose their poison. So that was something also that I developed my senior year, just staying after practice with our grad assistant, developing a 3 point shot. So where my percentage went from, I think, 35% from a 3 point line to 42, 43%, which was efficient when you talk about numbers. And I think I was averaging about 3 to 4 made 3 pointers a game. So that also was very important. Again, being able to shoot that three was, now people have to pick their poison. Okay, you're going to stop me from three, then I could go by you, I could pull up, I could take you down to the post. So I would say being versatile is something that's very important for players.
What do you think helped make those transitions?
Definitely my coach, Kevin Cook, he made me go against high caliber point guards, people that were natural born point guards. So I had to learn very quickly. And he also made me be more vocal. I was one of the younger ones on the team, and I'm playing. So at the time I was 20. Yeah, I was 20. No, 21. And some of my teammates were 31, some were 29. So I'm playing against people that have been in the WNBA, we're currently in the WNBA, we're playing overseas, and I'm having to direct them. And he made me do that. So I definitely think developing my voice and leadership qualities was something that I thank him for, because it's carried on not even just with basketball, but beyond the court, into my career.
Yeah, and you've done so many great things in your career and like, playing college, playing overseas and like playing on the Nigerian national team. But do you think that there was something that separated you from other people that made you go that far?
I think definitely it was a dream, my dream, and the drive to strive for that dream. I definitely, like I say, at 10 years old, I spoke it into existence. I wouldn't leave the basketball court until I made a shot. And every time I made the shot, I said, okay, if I make this, I'm going to the WNBA. If I make this, I'm going to go to, a D1 university. So just doing those things subconsciously, I think, developed my path. And even though, my Texas State wasn't my first choice. Like, I wanted to go to Duke. Duke letters weren't coming in. Then I wanted to go to OU. OU letters weren't coming in. So I think that my path was very unique because it was a mid-major Division I school. We're not playing on big platforms like, your UConns, your Tennessees are doing, your Notre Dames. So I really had to set myself apart mentally from my teammates, because not everybody on my team wanted to go to that next level. And then physically, I had to, work hard. It sounds cliche, but literally the separator was, after a 2 to 3 hour practice, I was staying after my senior year for 45 minutes developing my individual game, because I knew if I was better as an individual, that was going to help our team get to that next level. And we accomplished a lot of great things that are historic now at Texas State University. And so that was what was able to make me make that transition to, playing in the WNBA and being one of the first people in our conference to sign it to a training camp contract in the WNBA. And then beyond that, if I hadn't gone to Texas State, I don't know that I would have been in the WNBA. Dan Hughes, who was the coach for San Antonio at the time, said he came to our games, which was only 45 minutes away from him being in San Marcos. He came to my games when I was a sophomore. I didn't know that. So it was just an easy drive for him to come down. If I went to a Duke, I don't know, what my playing time would have been like. I don't know, favoritism with coaches. I have no idea what my story or journey would have been like. And so, we wish these things sometimes, but in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, I'm thankful for this path that, I went down.
And that's so true because we want things to happen. Like we always are gonna want like, oh, I want to do this and this is what's gonna help me get there. But there's always gonna be like you're gonna have some like a path that it's going to be meant for you and things are gonna turn out.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah. And also, if I didn't go to Texas State, I wouldn't have been a Globetrotter, because one of my teammates, no, he wasn't my teammate, sorry, he was my classmate. He was on the men's team, and we were really good friends. And then we finished school, and I just was checking on him. His name is Brandon Bush, and I called him one day, and I was like, "Yo, what are you up to now?" And he was like, "Dude, I'm on the Globetrotters." I was like, "What? Like Globetrotters? like the old school Curly Neal and all that?" He's like, "Yeah," and he was like, "And they have girls too." And I was like, what? I had no idea. So he literally told the recruiter about me, and that's how I was able to get a tryout with them. And again, Texas State was such an instrumental part of my life story. So, again, you wish all these things. Oh, I wish I went to a bigger school and all this. But at the end of the day, I still was able to achieve the things that was meant for me to achieve.
And I also think like if you have this kind of work ethic and you have like this kind of drive and this passion, it doesn't matter where you end up going. It's like what you
Right.
make out of the situation.
Exactly. That's so right. It's exactly what you make out of situation. Also, because I went to Texas State's how I got on the national team for Nigeria. I actually am just now thinking about that because Coach Cook came to our conference tournament, and that's where he saw me, and I was Nigerian. So he's like, "Oh, I'm coaching the team. I would like for you to come to tryouts." So literally Texas State was like the key piece, and the whole time I'm over here like I didn't want to go mid-major. I thought I was settling, but while I was there, I was able to get the playing time. I was able to get seen, and like you say, I was able to put the work in. There, the grad assistant that was there at the time, her name is Leah Foster. She's now the assistant coach for TCU. She was the one really that also helped me get to that next level, spending her own time to shoot around with me, rebound, put me through drills after practice. So there are lots of people that, to this day, I'm so thankful that I was able to cross paths with.
But like in that moment, like whenever you weren't getting those offers, you weren't like, just being able to like have the opportunity to go to like these top schools that you dreamed of, like how was that and how were you able to kind of channel that into like something positive?
So I actually just, I was down at the time. I was like, I felt like I was better than a lot of people that were getting these opportunities. There's a lot of different factors at play in that. I also started playing AAU at an older age. So I started as a junior. I started pretty late, junior in high school, whereas there are people who start at eighth grade, ninth grade. And so that gave these bigger schools opportunities to see them at an early age. What's crazy is when I signed a Texas State after my junior year, my senior year, I still played AAU. We went to national tournament, and like University of Texas, Texas A&M, Baylor, all of these coaches were like, "Where have you been? Like, why? How did we miss you?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but it's too late now because I'm signed." So that made me feel better about my game, because at that moment you just kind of feel like, man, like maybe you're not as good as you think you are, which is a great feeling to know, because that makes you puts fuel on your fire. It's kind of like when Michael Jordan got cut in high school. He could have gave up, but that single moment of him getting cut is what made him one of the greatest players, actually the greatest in my opinion, player of all time. um that's that motivation. So I say all that adversity and struggle and obstacle, that it's put there for a reason, and it's just up to you to choose what path you're going to go down. Are you going to sulk in depression and saying, and, being a victim, and coaches don't like me or everybody's against me? Or are you going to use that and say, what, I'm going to show, improve myself? I'm going to take my game to that next level, so that my game's going to speak for itself and nobody can deny me at that point.
Yeah, like there's, I don't know like the exact quote, but there's a quote where it's like, if everything goes the way you want it to, like what's the fun in life? And that's so true.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I mean, then you go around, even with the WNBA, I ended up getting cut after my first year there. And, I'm just like, man, that was another adversity struggle point piece in my life, because I never was cut from anything. Like if it was a tryout, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make it. That's just what always happened since I was 10 years old. Now, fast forward to 21, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm getting cut? Like, that's crazy. I've never been cut before. And even at that point, I still believed I was good enough to play in the league. But people have, you have different opportunities, you have different paths. I believe if I probably was on a different, in a different training camp, I think that I would have probably had a better opportunity. At the time, San Antonio had a lot of veterans in my position as a point guard. So using that, and like you said, like if that had worked out and I had been in the WNBA till this day, I don't know that I would be, number one, humble, because everything had worked out for my well-being. Number two, I wouldn't have understood the meaning of, giving back and being out there in the community, and I probably wouldn't have developed my motivational speaking um, talent that I developed through the Globetrotters. I wouldn't have been able to have all those other opportunities that I had, like the Globetrotters, playing on a national team for such a long time, because I probably would have been playing overseas somewhere. And so, like I said before, like everybody's path is that's meant to be your path, and it's what you do with it is what counts. So
Yeah, so true. And then what was kind of your experience with the Harlem Globetrotters? I know you're the 12th female Harlem Globetrotter, which is such a big deal. I think that it's amazing when women go and they kind of create their own space in it, like something that was kind of always for men.
yeah, so it's definitely was definitely a male dominated industry. The first female, Lynette Woodard, came in 1985, so she paved the way before I was even born. And so it just was awesome. I would say one of the most unique experiences of my basketball career. Number one, because I was able to mix my personality with my playing skill. So I am so goofy. Like I love being goofy. I love making people laugh. I love just happiness and cheerfulness. And that was everything that the Globetrotters embodied. I mean, we're traveling from city to city, playing in NBA arenas, and making people laugh. And I was just like, this is my job. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is so awesome. I felt like it was probably one of the most purposeful moments in my life, because not only were we making people laugh, but and bringing smiles to people's faces, but we were also getting out there in the community. And like I said before, like it made me have to speak in front of that experience made me have to speak in front of over 50,000 kids in NBA arenas. I'm having to deliver, our talking points with sponsors. And in some games, we would have 15,000 people. So I overcame that fear of public speaking and had to quickly in that experience. And I actually enjoyed public speaking. So I really feel like that really brought out that talent in me that was always in me. And now to this day, I'm motivational speaking. I teach. I'm an educator, so I'm always trying to mentor kids. I have my own basketball skills training company called Ball Effects, where I'm literally mentoring and pouring back what the game has taught me into kids, and pro players and college players. So I've been blessed. I've been blessed. So I'm very thankful for every segment of my playing career.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go to your motivational speaking in your training.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, like, didn't you have to like learn a bunch of like different things? So like what the Harlem Globetrotters do is not like what you're gonna train in college. Like, how was that
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, I never even knew that was an opportunity. So I mean, playing with the Globetrotters, it was literally like we are wizards of basketball. We had to know how to handle the ball like in different ways that I never trained and thought I could handle the ball. So if you ever watch the games and you ever see anything on social media, we're doing cool ball tricks, trick shots. Literally, it was just having fun with basketball. um in the games, being a female, of course, there was a spotlight on you because you would be the only female, amongst men. And for such a long time, it was male dominated. It was all men. And so it was just female empowerment at its finest whenever I would step on the court. And being able to play with guys, I mean, that was something I was doing at 10 years old. So it's all coming, around full circle. Playing with guys at that level, all of these guys that played Division 1, some played pro, and so the level was definitely much more fast paced than the women's game. Now I'm throwing alley oops to guys doing 360 dunks through the legs. I ain't never threw an alley oop my whole playing career, so now it was something different, but it was super exciting. And I had a great time playing for 3 years there. So it was just a very unique experience.
Awesome. And I know that you also have like your own training companies. Do you want to talk about
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, sure. My training company is called Ball Effects, and it stands for Basketball Effects Lives. and it's located in Dallas, Texas. And my main focus is to teach kids, life lessons through basketball, using basketball as a tool. And so, growing up, I didn't really have like trainers. Like, I don't think that was like a huge market back then. But now, there's so many more kids that are wanting to play the sport, and kids that don't even know or their ability until you have to really pull it out of them. And so it's almost like we are, as trainers, like like basketball Jesus. Like, you are like transforming people, into players that they probably never thought they could be.
True.
Really focusing on fundamental skills. I'm all about footwork and the fundamentals. I'm not really gonna teach, how to do Kyrie Irving moves, because I didn't really, that wasn't a part of my game. So I want to teach kids, like, more footwork, like how Kobe and Michael Jordan really didn't do too many moves. They just worked on footwork. Whether it was a fadeaway jumper, they weren't over there, dribbling the ball 1,000 times to get to the hoop. So I like to, be cut and dry. I train anywhere from 6 years old all the way to pro players. So really, we have group trainings on Mondays. I'm actually headed to one in a few hours today, on Sundays in Grapevine, Fridays and Sundays in Grapevine, and Mondays in North Dallas at a spot called the Jewish Community Center. And so, man, it's growing. What's crazy is I trained in 2010. I had a company in 2010. And so when I wasn't playing overseas, I was doing that full time. But then as my playing career took off, and then, playing with the Globetrotters, I had to leave. And so now those kids that were kids back then, actually what's crazy is a girl that I trained is the director at the Grapevine Rec Center that now has me as a partner. So it's crazy because, like, I trained her when she was like in middle school, high school. Now she's like in her early 20s. So so, I'm just trying to grow that, program. I really want to instill the things also beyond the court that, we weren't necessarily told as players, things like, you know, financial advising, how to talk to agents, how to even get to the pro level, college recruitment, things that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know I could talk to college coaches. Like, I could initiate that conversation. I was getting letters from Big 12 schools like Missouri, and I just kept sticking them in my drawer. I thought, that they were going to continue on through my senior year of high school, but they just stopped writing me because they thought I wasn't interested and I didn't know to talk to them. So, just, giving these kids the tools and resources that they need to get to that next level.
Because I feel like people that have like gone through this, they always have like regrets, or they always like learn things, and it's so much fun to like get those little gems and like learn about them.
Yeah, gems for sure. I'm queen of dropping gems, because if I can shortcut your route to where you need to go, I'm gonna do it, because I would love for someone to do that for me at this age too. Like, if there's somebody that's older than me, like a mentor, that, hey, when I did, basketball training business, these are things that didn't work out. These are things that did. Yeah, my ears are wide open for those types of things, because why would you want to go through the trial and error when someone can shortcut you and help you or propel you? And, me being my age, I'm 34 now. A lot of my friends are college coaches, so it helps to train with me, because I can get, be in the ears of these coaches and say, hey, I got this girl. I mean, she can handle a rock, she can shoot three, and so they're gonna, because I'm credible, because of what I've done with my career, they're gonna be more inclined to listen to who I have, available to be recruited, than maybe a random. So there's a lot of opportunities that I want to create for the people that train with me. And I train boys and girls. And so what's interesting right now, I think I have more boy clients than girls. So, and I think that's cool to see, because now there's not like a gender bias. Like, boys are like, yeah, she plays basketball, she can coach the game, so I'm going to go to her. So that's also really unique. And then with girls, of course, I could be a female role model for them, besides their parents, or just another ear to listen to any problems that they have, and just, be there for them to ask questions. And so again, I'm really blessed to be in this position.
No, that's awesome, and I respect you so much for doing that. And I also think that it's so important for young boys to be able to see females as like these role models, because that's
Hmm.
awesome and that's so important.
Yes, I definitely think right now we are in the era of the female. So you see it all over the place in the news and media and sports. Becky Hammond, she became the first female to head coach an NBA team, and I played with her in 2008. So it's pretty neat to see like these women, being trailblazers. Now because Becky Hammond and Nancy Lieberman were coaches in the NBA, that opened up the doors for now there are more WNBA players or retired players getting in those coaching positions in the NBA and even like front office positions. So that's really neat to see as well.
Exactly. And my last question for you is what advice do you have for young girls that might be looking to pursue basketball?
I would say definitely embrace adversity. As you've heard throughout my storyline, there were moments of struggle or obstacles that, things didn't work out the way that I had planned it to, but I embraced it and I used it to motivate me and continue to strive uh, forward. And that because I was still striving forward, I was still practicing, that created other opportunities that I never dreamed of. So I would definitely say embrace adversity, ask questions, research, get online, YouTube. There's a lot of resources out there that we didn't have growing up. Use all of your resources and play with boys. Play against boys. They pose challenges that girls may not pose necessarily all the time, like athleticism. A lot of times they're quicker than you. They could jump higher than you. They may be stronger than you. So when you play against them, they're going to pose these challenges, but get better that way so that when you play against girls who might be less athletic than they are, the game is slowed down. It seems a little bit easier. Because I know, like right now, there are girls that are scared to play boys or insecure. I think confidence is key, definitely with sports. If I had to say anything, it would be confidence is key. If you have confidence in what you're doing and you prepare yourself and you practice, you're going to be successful. If you believe you can beat your opponent, you have a high probability and chance of doing that. But if you go in and you're already downing yourself, then that also poses a challenge on that's another challenge on yourself that may put you in a negative position, in a negative mindset. So always have confidence. Playing a sport, it's 80 to 90% mental, and the rest of it is your skill and hard work. So be confident.
Yeah, that's so true. I think I used to go to a gym where there were just a lot of like boys playing and there weren't that many
Mhm,
girls. And so I always
mhm.
wanted to play games and stuff like I wanted to have fun, but like I was always too afraid to like play
Yeah,
with them. And then like I think as I got older, I was like, you know what, just screw this. I'm just gonna go play with someone because like if I play
exactly.
alone.
Gotta do it. You gotta overcome your fear, because scared money don't make money. So you gotta go do it.
Exactly. Well, thank you
Mhm.
so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was awesome.